Good morning.
Good morning.
I see that Reverend Stevens, I believe, is on the call.
Good morning, Senator. How are you?
Scott, how are you? It's good to be with you.
Good. I am good. Jerome was just calling me. I think he's having a little bit of a problem logging in. So I told him to call in if he can't log in. So, and I know your time is extremely valuable. We've got a number of people who have already joined us and several more who are supposed to be joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Really am doing good. Obviously these are extremely challenging times. I need not tell you that. In Baltimore, we have so many different challenges, and it's just good to be with people who are really dedicated to making sure we have a great future. So thanks.
That is what, and that's what you have. One of the things that I've learned about the folks that are involved in this program, manufacturing products here in the United States, is they really are committed to community, not only to their own businesses. They're committed to employing people. It's pretty amazing group of people. I've really come to enjoy this work, Senator. I'm glad that we were fortunate enough to get this funding from the Minority Business Development Agency to do this work. And I know you had a lot to do with that in your seat in Washington. So we're very appreciative of your support for MBDA and for the minority business community and the small business community. So let me do this. As you can see, people are jumping on. I've given them some protocol, some background. We're asking that anybody that is participating today, we want you to be able to see their faces. So one of the rules is we're asking for everybody to turn their cameras on so you get to see all of these wonderful folks in the Maryland and Mid-Atlantic area. And the other thing, we're asking everybody to put themselves on mute until it's time to ask questions or to make comments. And the third thing is that this is, and you've asked for this, it's a conversation, right? So we ask everybody to be courteous in your comments, to give other people time to make their comments or ask their questions. I will say I have a few questions that came in from a few of our clients, and so I'm going to I may read off a few questions to kind of get us started. But to get us started, I wanted to do this first. Some of the folks, I know it may not be very many, but some of the folks, Senator Cardin, may not have met you and may not have a full background. I can't imagine that, but I know there may be a few. So I'm just going to go from off the top of the head, the few things I know about you to introduce you. So ladies and gentlemen, we have with us today the senior senator from the state of Maryland, Senator Ben Cardin, who has spent a lifetime in public service. Spending time in the House of Delegates here in the state of Maryland, actually the Speaker of the House of Delegates before moving on to his congressional seat, then his senatorial seat. Senator Cardin is a Baltimore native. I want to make sure I get it right. You're one of those city grads, right? Aren't you?
City grads. Do we have any poly grads that are on this call? I don't know if we do or not.
Wait a minute. I'm looking across the stage. We may not have a poly grad, so you're okay. You're in safe space today.
I'm a poly grad.
Oh,
we love poly. It's good.
So the other thing that I will say about Senator Cardin is he is a staunch supporter of small business in general, and a supporter of minority business more specifically. Senator Cardin chairs the Senate Small Business Committee and has been instrumental in much of the legislation associated with the pandemic relief and targeting pandemic relief that allowed small businesses to participate, as well as the codification and making MBDA a permanent agency. And, you know, he's got a number of other accolades, but we're not here to do all of that. So Senator Cardin, I wanted to stop and allow you to say a few words, and then we can conduct it however you would like to conduct it. Once again, I'm going to go back over. I'm asking for all the participants, please, please, please turn your cameras on and remember to stay on mute unless you're actually asking a question. So Senator Cardin, with that, it's yours.
Well, Scott, first of all, congratulations for your incredible leadership. We really appreciate your leadership as director of the Baltimore Mid-Atlantic MBDA. It's a great resource tool which you've been able to accomplish in this forum here on manufacturing. It is just, you have done great things, expanding opportunity and helping everyone in our community, helping our community grow. So I start off by my accolades to you and your leadership. It's good to be with everyone here. As I think you all are aware, under Scott's leadership, you received a $400,000 grant from the MBDA to deal with this initiative. Great work. It's Team Maryland who has fought for this. I want to acknowledge that from the beginning. We are Team Maryland. We work with our state and local officials. So I work very closely with Mayor Scott in the council. I work very closely with our county officials, our state officials, our state legislators. And I just really want to give a shout out to my federal colleagues. Chris Van Hollen does an incredible job on the Appropriations Committee, including the funding of the MBDA program that he has been instrumental in, as has Dutch Ruppersberger on the Appropriations Committee. John Sarbanes on the Commerce Committee. These issues go through his committee. But I must tell you, my longtime friend and also a member of the Small Business Committee, Kwesi Mfume, does a great job in leadership on behalf of minority small businesses. So I just really want to make that point. We work together. It was my amendment on the infrastructure bill that codified the MBDA program, but Kwesi Mfume has been working on this issue with me for a long time. And included in that legislation by name is the Parent J. Mitchell Grant Program, because all of us follow in his footsteps. It was Parent J. Mitchell who became the chairman of the House Small Business Committee and set up the very first set-asides for minority small businesses and small businesses in our contracting world. So there's issues that we should celebrate. And I could go through all the tools that we made available during the COVID relief packages, how we tailored and fine-tuned them. It was difficult under the Trump administration. I'm going to tell you, it wasn't easy. But we were able to get the later rounds of funds, particularly under the Paycheck Protection Program and under the EIDL Advance Program that was targeted to small businesses in underserved and underbanked communities, getting money into CDFIs that have mission purposes, targeting money to smaller small businesses, those who had the greatest revenue losses. All those issues we were able to do. And as the Inspector General has pointed out, the later stages of these relief programs reached more of the underserved and minority small businesses. So we made progress. We made more progress when President Biden became president. We were able to target our programs a lot more effectively. Very much appreciate his leadership on getting the goal of getting currently 11% of the contracting goals for small disadvantaged businesses, and to get up to 15% by 2025. So I just really want to start by saying we've been on a path to recognize that if we want to do something about the wealth gap in America, if we want to do something about our values and allowing opportunity for all communities, we've got to really reach out to the traditionally underserved communities and do a much more effective job in providing opportunity. But by the way, by doing that, our economy will grow stronger and all of us benefit from it. So this is a mission that I've been on as chairman of the committee, and I am proud of the progress we've made. But now a dose of reality. We have a long way to go. The Federal Reserve just issued a report that showed in 2021, 16% of Black entrepreneurs did not receive the capital that they needed in 2021. That's a shocking number. Only 16% received the funds that they needed. 84% did not. When we look at Maryland, we are blessed. We have the highest concentration of minority and women-owned small businesses in the country. We've seen a tremendous growth in 2021 of small businesses. It was a record number in the nation. We never had so many new startup companies. And guess who led those startup companies? Minority small businesses and women-owned small businesses. So we're on the right path, but let's not fool ourselves. We have a lot of work we need to do, and the MBDA program is central to making that a reality. It's one of the most important tools that we have available. But we got to do more. One more note of just bragging, and then I'm going to tell you the game plan. When I became chairman of the committee 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, I guess it was, we did not have, we only had one women's business center in our whole state. We now have 4, including one at Morgan, which is making a huge difference here in our community. We have one, by the way, in Salisbury on the Eastern Shore, which is also making a big difference. We always had one in the Washington areas in Rockville. So now we have more small business centers. We now have a veterans business outreach center located at College Park. We had 0 before. So we are building up our resource partners to try to help those that have traditionally gotten the benefits. I want to mention this because I'm very proud of what's happening at Bowie. We have a center of excellence that's dealing with entrepreneurship and government contracting. I mentioned the Parent J. Mitchell grant program. That's an effort to get more prime contracts through government contracting, not just subcontracts for minority small businesses. We want prime contracts. We don't want the crumbs. We want the contracts. We want to be in a stronger position. So we are working on the next generation of tools to help you. The bill that I'm most interested in is the Uplift Bill that would provide partnerships between the SBA and HBCUs and minority serving institutions and community colleges for startups and accelerator programs so that we can get capital to minority small businesses. When we look at the gap in financing is great throughout, but on startup companies, it's almost non-existent to have venture capital available in the minority community. So we really have to do a much better job on the venture capital side. We also want to make permanent the Community Advantage program, which has really reached the underserved and underbanked communities. There are certain things that we think we can do much better as we go forward. And we have a program that the Biden administration is pushing and I am strongly supporting, and that is direct loans by the SBA. Why do I say that? Our experiences in the PPP program showed that despite our efforts, and I put an amendment in the bill that required the SBA to reach out to underbanked communities in the PPP program. The Inspector General told us the Trump administration didn't do that, by the way. But we know just naturally, banks are going to go to their existing customers first. They're going to go to their larger small businesses first. And even though these loans are guaranteed by the federal government, the 7A loans, it's going to be more challenging for a startup company, particularly a company located in a minority community, a smaller small business, to be able to get a 7A loan, even though it's guaranteed by the government. So we want to have direct loans by the SBA in order to reach out and provide opportunities. And that's part of our program moving forward. So Scott, I just really want to give you a little bit of the flavor, a lot of things we're working on. I think it's an exciting time. I believe Reverend Stevens is on the phone by telephone. I want to give a shout out to him. He's been an incredible source in my office to reach out to all of our communities. And I thank him for his bridge building work that he's done for my Senate office. And I hope we can just have, as I said before, a friendly discussion or a discussion on any issue you want to talk about. I'll conclude on this point. If you ask any business owner today, including a small business owner, a minority business owner, a person in manufacturing, whatever field, you ask them what's keeps them up at night. They're going to tell you two things today. One is, can I get trained workers at an affordable price because of the workforce shortage? And we have to deal with that issue. And secondly, they're going to tell us they don't have a reliable supply chain for affordable price today because of inflation and what's happening as far as supply chains. We got to correct both of those issues. We have a bill that I hope will pass this coming week, known as the American Competes, Hbcus bill, that will establish supply manufacturing here in the United States of America. I am shocked that we produce 0% of the advanced microchips here in the United States. That's what we need for the new consumer products that are being manufactured for the markets of tomorrow. That's what we need for our defense manufacturing infrastructure, the advanced microchips. We need to have that supply made here in the United States of America. And we hope to correct that this coming week in the United States Senate. And then we have to have sensible workforce policies in this country, including allowing worker visas where we need them for the so many industries that require workers who are coming in from other countries. We need to be able to open that up a lot more than we do today. And we have to have immigrants coming into this country for our labor force. So I recognize that's been a challenge because of COVID, but it's also been a challenge because of domestic politics. We have to recognize that we need a stronger workforce. We need to deal with the cost of childcare so that people can afford to go to work and not have to give half of their paycheck to a daycare center. These are issues that we have to address as a nation that'll make it easier for all businesses, but particularly those that are the most vulnerable, minority small businesses. And America can compete in manufacturing if we can provide a level playing field. We have to make sure it's available in all communities. So with that, I'll turn it back to Scott and look forward to our conversation.
Okay, Senator Cardin, I wanted to put myself on mute while you were talking, but while you covered a lot, quite a bit. And as always, you are on top of so many different things, and we appreciate you for it. I'm going to jump into a question that came in before we began. And what I'm going to ask everyone is if you want to ask a question, you make a comment or share a comment with Senator Cardin. If you just raise your hand, I'm going to do my best at watching the chat, at watching hands raised. So just raise your hand. But I think yesterday we got in a question from Michael Lamb, Symphorex. And I will share with you, Symphorex does the carriers for basically bulletproof vests, and they provide the carriers. So interesting company. And so Michael asks, are there any plans to develop viable programs and focus funding to help the sizable group of small minority manufacturers and businesses that land between, this is a good question, that land between startup and well-established? And one of the things I'll comment on that. One of the things we find is venture capital loves to go to startups, right? Because they think there's a potential big upside, and so they'll put money there. Or folks that are established, they have plenty of access to cash, but it's the group in the middle that we deal with a lot in our program. And that becomes somewhat of a challenge. So any comments or thoughts on that?
It's a great question. Yes, we are recognizing that we need off-ramps in regards to companies that have that are past their startup dates. They may have gotten some help as an 8A certified company. I was pleased to be the sponsor to extend the 8A certification as a result of COVID because of the economy. We're looking at further extensions of 8A certifications so that there's a longer off-ramp than we currently have. We're looking at some of the definitional issues within the small business programs that allow for companies that are maturing to be able to have a longer runway in regards to the benefits of these programs. So we've heard this issue. We did work with some of the issues concerning the designations on certain of our hub zones and enterprise zone issues that will also allow for further expansion. The companies that otherwise would not be able to be eligible for this. So the answer is definitely yes, but I want to make this clear. We also want to provide oxygen for those new entrepreneurs. We recognize that it is so difficult to get started today. And it is particularly difficult in minority communities. So we want to make sure that we don't have procurement officers using established relationships to deny opportunities to young, new innovators that are really trying to get started. And the government's the largest single purveyor of goods and services in the world, the US government. We want to make sure that's fairly utilized. I'll tell you one last point on this, which really, in a way, surprised me. The federal agency that is the strongest in saying, let's make sure that we have innovation spurred by young people who have better ways of doing things because they can develop new systems that can help us. It was the Department of Defense that told us we needed these new ideas. We needed these young, trained entrepreneurs that are willing to take risks. And we have to get them started because they'll figure out a better way to do missile technology. They'll figure out a better way to have cyber defense. They'll figure out a better way to deal with keeping us safe through a bulletproof vest. They'll figure out a better way to do all these issues, but we might have to get them started. So yes, we want longer off ramps, but we also want to make sure we have oxygen for these new entrepreneurs.
I got it. So one of the questions that came in from Tracy at New Tech, Ms. Tracy Johnson, had to do, and this is another great question. For a lot of startups, often if they do have this great idea and they do have this opportunity to go out and seek funds, they're giving up a lot of their equity on the front end, particularly minority businesses, and much of that equity is coming from people who are not minorities. And so there's issues of control, there's just a number of issues. Any thoughts about that?
Yes, well, first of all, there is a limit as to what government can and should do. We should not be engaged in trying to micromanage how the private sector organizes its business entities as an effort to run a business. We should not. But we have appropriate set-asides for opportunity in this country. We have small business set-asides, we have disadvantaged businesses set-asides, we have veteran business set-asides, and they should be reserved for those entities that truly qualify for those set-asides. So we don't want to see these straw ownership issues that are taking away from effective control by the target group so that they can take advantage of the set-aside when it's really not a minority business, or it's really not a women-owned business. So it is a dual-edged sword that we have here, and we are trying to figure out a way that we can not overly interfere with business judgment, but to make it clear we don't want to see a fraud or a quasi-fraud situation develop. So we have empowered the inspector generals to have a little bit more authority in this line. We have used our bully pulpit to make it clear that we won't tolerate these circumstances. And I want to tell you, quite frankly, I think the circumstances are better today than they've been in the past. I think we are seeing a more legitimate use of these programs and less of these phony arrangements where you look like you're a minority business when you're not.
So thank you. I'm sure Stanley Tucker, who I see out there from MMG, appreciates that.
Stanley Tucker is one of our advisors. I should have him on our payroll. He's always there giving us help.
Stanley's, and he's one of our advisors as well. So we've both gone to a good person to kind of give us some advice and counsel on how to manage through this stuff. Winston Fraser from now I'm having a brain moment here, from Danae, who does 3D printing, asked if you were aware of the Biden administration's launch of AM Forward, which calls on Congress to pass a bipartisan innovation act.
I think I am. There's a couple initiatives that are coming from the Biden administration. Some of those have also been initiated by members of Congress. I've been involved in some of those programs working with the Biden administration. I think in manufacturing, Senator Coons has been involved in some of those issues. So we've worked together to bring forward new initiatives for opportunity. I am impressed by the Biden administration's commitment for opportunity in this country. I already mentioned what they're doing with the small disadvantaged businesses, the set-asides that they're talking about, which are real. We're now talking about increasing the percentages on all the small business set-asides under the Government Procurement Act, including the subgroups for minorities and women. So I am familiar with some of the specific initiatives. We know that in the bipartisan infrastructure package, there was a commitment to make sure that minority businesses were very much included in this larger dollars that are available. At times, we have challenges when you have existing contractors to say, well, gee, are you going to take business away from us? The answer is we want to make sure it's fairly allocated in our country, but when you have a growing pie, it's easier to provide more help that have been left behind in the past. So the answer is we're looking at a lot of these initiatives. If you want to give a little bit more specifics on the program you're talking about, but I know that there have been several initiatives that we've worked with the Biden administration on.
Speaking about getting additional information, would you share, how the public can engage with the with the Senate Small Business Committee and also your office? And
Right.
Who are those points of contact? Because everybody can't call you. So who are those points of contact that you recommend that your constituents reach out to?
Right. Thanks for that question. We tried to always give contacts that you can get. If you don't have questions answered, you need to have additional questions. Jerome Stevens has been my principal person for bridges to the community, and he transmits everything to us. He's out there, and you can easily reach him through Jerome_Stevens at cardin.senate.gov. It's an easy email to remember, just his name with an underscore between the first and last name at cardin.senate.gov. We have the Small Business Committee. It's a small staff, but they are extremely sensitive to these issues, and we welcome your questions and input. Jerome will put you in touch with the small business staff, and if you have a specific challenge with the SBA or a specific challenge with the company, we'll be your advocate to try to resolve those issues. So we really want to make sure that we do this. We put on our webpage a lot of useful information, including this is mostly for governments or nonprofits. If you're interested in a congressional directed spending or earmark, we have a brochure, a booklet that we've put out on how to get access to those types of issues. We can certainly help you with the Small Business Administration. We can help you with the MBDA at Commerce. We can help you with the IRS. If you have those types of issues, just contact our office. We look forward to serving the people of Maryland. The only thing we ask, we hope you have some Maryland roots.
Many of the folks on here do have Maryland roots or have offices in Maryland. So you got a hometown crowd on this Zoom, Senator. The questions keep coming in, but I'm going to change up a little bit. And I don't have any hands raised, but is there anyone, I'm going to give you an opportunity. Is there anyone who would like to ask the senator a question directly? And if so, raise your hand and I'll come back to you. And while I'm doing that, Marta Ali. Marta is another one leveraging 3D printing and advanced manufacturing technologies, really in the building industries. And Marta asked, what kind of recommendations would you have for a company like hers focused on additive manufacturing, who's having challenges getting capital for acquiring state-of-the-art equipment? And we just went through this, Senator, with one of our other clients who's on the Zoom, Antoine Hutchinson over at FabPro, really finding the money specifically to get technology, to buy technology. Many of our companies are disadvantaged, right? Because when it comes to that, it's hard for them to get the money specifically to buy equipment. Is there anything specific to that you would recommend?
Well, the SBA does have different tools that are available. The 504 loan program is the major program available for that type of a business investment for expansion or technology growth. So the 504 program would probably be the most logical avenue. There are other avenues that are available. We are now developing a capacity in regards to cybersecurity, which is an area that we've heard from small businesses that they need help. So we are looking at providing more technical assistance and help to small businesses in regards to cybersecurity. We also are making a push in regards to international. So if your manufacturing is involved in international, and I see Mike's on the call, he's our champion in regards to the manufacturing. We'll try to find ways that we can help you in dealing with that aspect of it. So there are different niches that we can help you with. And we're also, of course, looking at the SBIC laws, trying to make them fair to provide additional capital through that type of a public-private partnership. So there are different programs available. What I would suggest is work through the resource partners. That's why we have the resource partners. Work through our resource partners, including the SBDCs, to figure out how we can provide help to you to meet your specific needs.
So I see Ken Canty. I'm going to start there with his hand raised. So Ken, I saw one of your questions in the chat, but I'm going to let you go ahead.
Yeah, yes, sir. My name's Kenneth Canty. Janus Materials, we're a company that basically, I call it an organ donor program for bridges and large structures. As you can see behind me, I'm a bridge engineer and a bridge contractor all my life. What we do is figure out the ways these structures can continue to live after their life has been lived as a bridge. So, for example, we're looking at taking bridge material up and down both sides of the Chesapeake Bay and using it to build oyster reefs and walls to combat climate change and sea level rise. And what we're able to do is institute those solutions for a fraction of the cost of what they would be if you built them conventionally.
Wow.
Yeah, and my roots, I happen to be out of my roots go deep into Maryland. My father moved there after the war. I still have a lot of family there, and I have an office there in Baltimore. Baltimore is one of my favorite cities in the world. My question is this. How will the MBDA, which was created initially for the needs of Black businesses, continue to be able to serve the specific need of Black businesses, even though umbrella of protection has been extended to all businesses of color? And I'll just add one more comment to that. There's a lot of challenges Black businesses have that are different than anybody else because of the history of racism in the United States of America. I've suffered it. I've testified in front of Congress about it, to Congressman Payne's committee about it. And how do we address those things so we can move forward for the sake of everybody else? Thank you.
Well, Ken, thanks for those questions. First, let me take the second question first, and I'll come back to how you utilize bridge material. That's why we are really concentrating on the partnerships between government and HBCUs, because exact reasons that you said. To know the history, to know the challenges, to understand the community. We are blessed in Maryland of having 4 HBCUs. I met with Dr. Wilson yesterday, and it was exciting to hear Morgan's partnerships in so many different areas, the different programs that they're offering that are truly unique in today's competitive environment, to provide the trained workforce in the minority community, particularly, that has been denied for so many years these opportunities, but to also grow an institution that's sensitive to the minority community that can compete anywhere in this country is really exciting. We hope that Morgan will become an R1, which is the top flight research university in this country. We're optimistic about that because we're building that capacity. So they are working in many of the areas you're talking about, providing the opportunities that have been denied for way too long. Bowie State University is developing the expertise. They have the national model in dealing entrepreneurial opportunities for contract work, including prime contract works with government agencies. They're the best in the country on these programs, developing them now at Hbcu. So again, to provide those types of bridges that have been denied in the past. And I can say the same thing about UMES. They're developing this program on aviation, which is going to be one of the best in the country, that will give us minority opportunities in an industry that has not had a lot. You don't see a lot of minority pilots in this country. They're going to change that equation, and it's going to happen on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. And Coppin is a great resource for our community, not only their students, but their adult population that they're serving with opportunities to expand those issues. In addition to our HBCU partnerships, we're also using MSI's, minority serving institutions, which in Maryland is another key part of this. Prince George's Community College, Baltimore Community College. These are areas in which we're partnering with in order to deal exactly with the issues you're talking about, expanding traditional opportunities. So that's why on the Uplift program, these are incubators and accelerator small businesses. We want them on the campuses of the HBCUs, because we think in that environment, it gives us the real chance to nurture startup companies that have for too long been challenging for the minority community. We haven't seen if you look at the amount of venture capital goes to Black businesses in this country, last time I looked at it, I thought it was 2 or 3%.
2%, that's about right.
Yeah, so we have a long way to go, but if we locate the incubators on the campuses of an HBCU, it gives us a chance to do something about those numbers. So we agree with you completely, and that's why we're working on these partnerships. This is initiatives that I've led on, but also the Biden administration. So we're going to continue on that. Let me just say a word about your business. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a win-win situation. We need to replace our bridges. There's a lot of money in the infrastructure bill to do that. I think Maryland's going to receive, if I remember correctly, somewhere around $800 million in bridge maintenance or replacement or new bridges. So we got a substantial check on that recently from the federal government that's in our program. But then you have what you're doing is saying, let's be environmentally sensitive. We don't need more landfilling. If we can put this to beneficial use, and guess what? We're behind on our Chesapeake Bay commitments. So anything we can do to have a beneficial use of that material to help our environment. There's $238 million in the bipartisan infrastructure bill for the Chesapeake Bay. Let's be creative. We should be providing partnerships with your company to help accelerate those programs for reefs. We need more reefs. We've had a declining population. You want to know why we're losing, why you're spending so much money for your steamed crabs this summer? It's because climate change is killing the vegetation, and juvenile crabs can't survive because they need places to hide. Well, we can make some artificial, if we can develop an artificial system that can help crabs survive, maybe it'll bring down the cost a little bit for our steamed crabs. That seems like a really worthy venture for me. So that's just one example, but we also have oyster reefs that we still only have a small fraction of the total oyster crop. Our Maryland congressional delegation has made a priority in expanding the oyster population in our state and to deal with the issues that you're dealing with, Ken, and your recycling of bridge material. So absolutely, I think there's a lot of partnerships. We have small watershed grant programs that could help you with some of those areas. I'm really excited about your business, so thank you for doing that.
So, Senator, as we go, because we got, now I got hands up. How much more time do we have with you?
Well, I have to be back at work on Monday morning.
All right, we're going to be respectful of your time. I want to make sure, Winston, I know you've had your hand up for a minute. So did you have an additional question?
Scott, thanks. Mr. Cardin, it's wonderful to meet you. So to explain my business just a little bit, we're focused on doing 3D printing as a service as well as engineering as a service. So we're, my job right now is to grow the company as hard as possible. And we just went from having maybe 3 to 4 companies as customers a week to having 10 to 20 new customers every single day. I have to expand that even further. And I really think that the AM program is going to be it for me. I just went to a 3D printing convention, and there was probably one other firm that's like me in our industry. So for us, this program, you're talking about Raytheon moving over 50% of their purchase orders to small businesses, Lockheed 20 to 30%, and so on and so forth for all the businesses. What's the best way for me to get ahead of this? Because you can count the type of businesses that are owned by minorities on my hand that are just like me. So it's kind of crucial.
What we do, let me say, there's what we can do and what we can't do. We have required that agencies meet the small business set aside requirement of 23%. We're hoping to increase that number. So when you get to the Lockheeds of the world, you get to the Northrop Grummans of the world, they need to include small business contractors as part of their subcontract work on these contracts. So it opens up lots of opportunities. I have nothing but nice things to say about Northrop. There's one of their largest employers in our state. They're a quality operator. They're critically important to our national defense. And I think they do try their best to carry out the requirements for the small business set aside, so they have a pretty healthy relationship with the small business contractors. I don't get complaints with small business subcontractors when it comes to Northrop. Sometimes we get into government disputes, but when we get beyond that. But we do not interfere with Northrop's decision-making on how they go about selecting their small businesses. It has to be a legitimate small business, but beyond that, it's basically a business decision made by Northrop. Sometimes the government will intercede if there's a particular need that we see in a small business that we think is important for our contracting, and sort of make that marriage between the prime contractor and subcontractor. But that's the exception rather than the rule. What we can do is facilitate opportunities through the procurement system that they are knowledgeable about what you do, but then it's really your decision working with the prime contractor to make that contract work. So we'll be glad to help. We'll be glad to make introductions. We'll be glad to showcase a Maryland company that qualifies as a small business, qualifies in the other categories that may be available, and suggests that there at least be an opportunity given to you to compete with the larger company.
Thank you, Senator. Interesting you said that. For the first time, I guess in about 2 years, 24 months, they had the big federal procurement fair at the convention center in Washington this year. And you could tell that, people are gradually coming back out. We haven't touched the issues of the impact of the pandemic on much of the progress that I think is coming through this administration. One of my closest friends and partners in this work is Mike Galeazzo, and I know you know Mike, and Mike has his hand raised. So Mr. RMI, Mr. Maryland Manufacturing himself, what's on your mind, Mike?
I was surprised you kept Mike quiet as long as he stayed quiet. I was surprised.
Well, I'm very supportive of my good brother, Scott Phillips. In fact, just to let the group know both about Scott and about Senator Cardin, I was out there working the polls the other morning, rainy Saturday afternoon for Scott. And one of the voters that came by in the rain was your good Senator Ben Cardin. So you're a true American there, Ben. You're always out there for the cause. We've known each other for a long time. We're just so fortunate to have you on our side. Real quick, I was on the phone with one of our board members yesterday from Textron Corporation. I know they're not a minority, But Jim Glowacki raised a really interesting point about the concept of infrastructure and the money that's going to infrastructure. And I wanted to bring it up because of folks like Winston, and there was somebody else talking about money for equipment. And Jim's point was, can't we start having a conversation about the infrastructure needed for manufacturing to be competitive? I thought that was really, I mean, I know we talk about supply chain and you mentioned that, Ben, but this concept of infrastructure can be more than bridges and roads. It can be, we know we need enormous new technologies in manufacturing. And Jim was basically saying under Industry 4.0, can we tap into some of that infrastructure money to help manufacturers rebuild the infrastructure that's needed for them to be competitive? And some of that would be money for new technology. So I just kind of want to make that pass that comment along, because I thought I had a lot of good insight about the need. There's not a, so it's not.
No, Mike, you're absolutely right. And you couldn't be more timely. As we are having this WebEx, there are a group meeting over the weekend to determine what type of bill we're going to have on the floor next week. I hope it's next week, on the American Competes Act, Hbcus. Clearly, the most urgent issue, as I mentioned earlier, is the passage of the program that will allow us to have domestic production of computer chips here in the United States, including the advanced computer chips. That is a matter of national security. It's a matter of our economic future. And we have a very short window before we lose some major investment opportunities in this country. So we're going to have to get that done. And I don't want to get too much into the weeds here, but the American Competes Act, the Hbcus bill, includes a lot more than computer chips. It includes a lot what Mike is referring to. It has funds in there to expand dramatically the research and development grant tax credits that are available to companies that invest in that type of technology and that type of research. It provides for minority communities dollars for research capacities at our HBCUs, for example, is in that bill. That this is part of our effort to convert some of our HBCUs into R1s, which is our top research universities in the country. As I said, Morgan's is primed to be one of those. We also have 3 more of the HBCUs that are primed to go into an R1 category, which is part of the infrastructure, Mike. This is what you're talking about. It's not just buying the machinery or buying the computer program. It's having the workforce and it's having the technology development that's necessary to compete. Manufacturing today is high tech.
Yeah.
You've got to have the high tech investment in order to compete in manufacturing. So, yes. So why did I say this weekend is critically important? Well, we have a political fight taking place. Senator McConnell is complaining that we might only be able to pass the chip part of the Competes Act, which would leave a lot of these other issues on the chopping block. And we're negotiating now on part of this in some aspects of it to try to get the most robust bill as we can completed over the weekend so we can take it up as early as next week. And a lot of us are fighting for the manufacturing sector to include these tools that are critically important for our manufacturing infrastructure moving forward. So we think as important as our computer chips are, and it is vital that we do computer chip manufacturing in the United States, we have to go beyond that. There's other issues that we have to deal with as well.
Senator Cardin, I wish I had my colleagues. There is an MBDA Advanced Manufacturing Center in Kentucky. I'm going to call them today so that they can call their senator. Give them a message.
Oh yeah, that senator that's a pretty important. Both of those senators are important. Why do I say Senator McConnell is critically important to this discussion? Senator Paul is my ranking on small business, and any help I can get on Senator Paul, I appreciate as well.
I'm going to call them today. This is a good conversation. I'm going to have them. This has been recorded, so I hope you don't mind. I'm going to have them listen to this recording, and they need to do their jobs out there in Kentucky. Wow, where are we? This has just been such a great conversation. I want to do this. Please, everybody that is on this Zoom, I'm going to encourage you to do something. In the chat, put your name, your company name, and just a little, just enough for the chat, because I'm going to share this with Senator Cardin and with Jerome Stevens, so they know who was on the call, because I know we didn't get around to because we have enough people on the call. We'd be another hour if I let everybody introduce themselves, but I do want the senator to know who was participating in the chat. We're at 12:19, Senator. Do you want to?
And Jerome Stevens has put his information in the chat. I just see. So for those of us who we have not gotten to, I know that Antonio had his hand raised. I want to give him a chance to ask this question. But if we don't get to your questions, please contact Jerome and we'll try to get the answer to you. But Scott, can we take Antonio's question?
Antoine. Yep.
I'm sorry. It's my eyesight. I apologize. I'm on a small screen. It is Antoine. Yeah.
It's very good. Mr. Antoine Hutchinson.
Yeah, Senator, thank you for taking our doing this call today. It's very informative. Thank you very much. I just had a question. I own a precision metal manufacturing company, and we manufacture precision metal components for like computer industry. We're right now we're in the process of getting jobs like work back. That we have a customer in particular that was getting their parts done in Taiwan, and we're actually reshoring a cybersecurity company. But to do that, we need like really expensive equipment. So you're kind of touching with Mike about the how to get equipment, and Scott's actually helped us get a large piece of equipment. But we need more equipment to actually continue to be competitive with Taiwan. Are there any, like in China, are there any other, because their labor prices are so low over there, as you know, are there any other, like, is there any consideration for direct grant money for equipment funding? I know Mike, MBDA actually has some direct grant funding, or as some programs that have potential direct grant funding for equipment. But like, like for instance, to give an example, like a piece of equipment for us is like $500,000. So that's kind of like, it's kind of hard to to carry, on our balance sheet, especially now the interest rates are going up. So is there any consideration for like direct grants, like maybe a 20% match or something like that for a large equipment manufacturing companies?
Antoine, I am not aware of any such program. Mike might have some ideas on that. We do know that there are indirect funds available that on economic development opportunities. We have state, local, and national programs that are available to try to offer incentives for that type of business expansion. Clearly on the computer chip industry, these will be direct grants that we're giving out. We've done it with the auto industry under recovery funds. So there have been recovery funds that have been made available for this, but I'm not aware of an ongoing basis that there is direct funds that are available. We do have credit programs, which are comparable to direct funding, because there's a dollar for dollar savings on your taxes. So we do have some credit programs that can work in this area, but I'm not aware of any specific programs that provide specific grants for upgrades of computer equipment or other equipment. Or we do have some programs with cyber that could be used for that purpose. I guess we have some special programs that could be used. We have some environmental programs that could be used on this. So maybe there are some special niche areas that we could provide some grants to help you with. Once again, I'm going to refer you more to our resource partners that can help you with that individual tailoring of your needs to the tools that are available. So we'll try to provide that through the resource partners would be the best guess.
Well, yeah, I would say I would suggest maybe a consideration of that, because like we make, like companies like ours, we make parts that the chips go into. So like the metal housings, the metal structures of the chips go into, we make those parts. So like the parts like the Dell computer chassis that are made in like Taiwan and China and places like that, we actually get that work back in the United States, the metal parts. So that's something we can get back a lot easier than the computer chips even. So like so I would say consideration,
Yeah.
Like a thought of consideration for like large equipment for companies like mine, not necessarily mine, because like Scott has really hooked us up, so we've actually done really well. I can't complain, but just in general, the large equipment, because like I said, that equipment is very expensive, but it's because of the shipping costs and the metal is really expensive. The shipping costs from Taiwan have opened up an opportunity. Also, COVID opened up an opportunity for U.S. manufacturing in that area.
So understand, in the chip program, it's more than manufacturing the chip itself. It is the entire community that involved in that, which includes a lot of research, a lot of the casings that you're talking about, and includes the whole host of related fields that we expect to see nurtured, grown, and expanded greatly here in the United States. Just by way of numbers, we consume probably close to 50% of the microchips in the world. We manufacture about 12% of the legacy chips. These are the older chips. We do zero in the advanced chips. We use perhaps 60% of the advanced chips here in the United States. So we want that capacity here in the United States. In order to do that, we have to have the casing. So absolutely, we need to make sure that, and you may be able to be part of those direct funding. This bill is about $55 billion, somewhere in that range. So that's a lot of money we're putting out to make sure that we have a microchip industry here in the United States.
Thank you very much, Senator. Thank you for taking my question.
Senator, I see Joe James. When you talk about somebody doing advanced manufacturing, Mr. Joe James has an agri-tech business. Joe, what's going on?
Good to see you, sir. And Senator, thank you for taking the time out to visit with us today. I'm a former 33-year economic development professional, and I've invented a process by which we plant very large and fast-growing biocrops that capture nearly 4 times the amount of CO2 per acre as an equal acreage of trees and twice as much as the next best crop that we're aware of. And then rather than, as most of these carbon capture technologies are doing, take the CO2, put it in the ground to pump out more oil, we actually convert the plant material into bioproducts, some of which actually displace the use of oil because they, for example, one of our products is a clean and safer and less contaminated alternative to carbon black filler powder. And you might know that carbon black filler powder comprises 30% of a tire. And obviously people have to change their tires every few years. And all of that tire wear contains the arsenic, lead, mercury, et cetera, that's in tires. And we make an alternative to that. Here's my request of you, sir. We were invited to enter into a CRADA, Cooperative Research and Development Agreement, by one of USDA's research labs who had an interest in making bio-based filler powder. Unfortunately, they breached the CRADA and secretly filed a patent on a process that they thought we had in common to make this filler powder. But it turned out that that process did not work. And there was another process that we had told them about that we had. And they refused to, even though they breached the CRADA and went ahead and filed a patent, they refused to patent our process. And not only have they taken $40,000 from us as the funding that they requested of us in the CRADA and other expenses that we incurred to comply, but they refused to file a patent. So we need your help to make the USDA be responsive as it should be to refund the funding that they took from us and to go ahead and file a patent that would allow us to make our product. The last bit of information I'll share with you is my team of companies in cooperation with the University of Akron School of Polymer Science were among the first 16 companies or 16 organizations funded by the new federal BioMade program that is trying to stimulate a bioeconomy. So in summary, we have a process that captures lots of CO2 at a low cost, about 35 bucks a ton. And rather than pump it in the ground to pump out more oil, we make bio-based products, some of which eliminate the need for using oil to make certain products that are better for the environment and allows us to create jobs in poor urban and rural communities of color around the country. So we need your help.
Well, you got me intrigued on this. So I hope you'll follow up, get me that information. You can do it directly through the contact that's in the chat, and we'll follow up. I would also hope there'd be interest by the Maryland Department of the Environment as well as the Maryland State Department of Agriculture to support what you're doing, because
there has been interest. We have planted our crops in the Chesapeake Bay watershed in cooperation with the University of Maryland Eastern Shore to use them to extract excess nitrogen and phosphorus to keep it out of the bay, where it would otherwise cause algal bloom and kill fish.
Right.
So there's an interest already. We're getting support from the state, but this federal issue that I have, sir, is preventing me from being able to make my product without the fear of being unfairly competed against, as well as, I'm a poor Black company. $40,000 means a hell of a lot to me.
No, I hear you. So absolutely, we'll work with you. Were you in the SBIR program with the Department of Agriculture or the STD?
No, sir. No, this was the the USDA research centers can enter into a cooperative research and development agreement with anybody. They approached me. I didn't approach them. I was serving on the Federal Biomass Research and Development Technical Advisory Committee. We happened to have a meeting on the West Coast, and after I made as all of we members did, made a brief comment about what we were doing, the lead researcher from the what was it called?
Out in Beltsville?
Now, Beltsville is who they report to, ARS, but this was the Western Regional Research Center in Berkeley. Western Regional Research Center in Berkeley approached me and said, "Hey, we like what you're doing. We have an interest in this. Come join us. And oh, by the way, pay us $40,000 and we'll help you." It turned out that it was a federal version of catch and kill.
Yeah,
they wanted to wrap their arms around me, tie me up, and then prevent me from having the ability to use my technology.
So it wasn't under any of the, it was a direct program with the Department of Agriculture. Okay, get us the information and we'll follow up on it. Absolutely, we'll follow up.
Okay, I should tell you that maybe a year ago I sent that message to your office.
Oh,
I
really?
never heard back, sir. Yes, sir.
Well,
but I will
do it. We'll find out what happened to that. We'll follow up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, Senator, we've had you for an hour. I had this scheduled for, I thought we were going to have you for 45 minutes. I was going to have a little wrap up with the team, but this has been extraordinary. We thank you so much. I want to give you an opportunity to kind of wrap things up with the group.
Well, first, Scott, you got some very talented people that are on this call doing some remarkable entrepreneurship ventures, which to me is so exciting. Let me just make this observation, and the people on this call understand this. The small business entrepreneur is the person who innovates in areas that we need for our country. It moves our economy forward. And when we are not providing that opportunity in all communities, we're denying not just the values of America that provide opportunity to all, but the full potential of our economic capacity and growth, which hurts all of us. So this is why we have to unlock the potential in America at the same time provide opportunities. So I find this very, very inspirational to me. My objective is the same as yours in the MBDA program, and that is to unlock this potential. We are so proud to have the services that Scott Phillips provides. We want to build on that. We want to provide more opportunities, and I want to work together with the people on this call. So thank you for everything you're doing. Everybody stay safe, have a good weekend, and we'll continue our partnership.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for coming on and participating in this conversation. I'm sure everybody got something out of this. And Senator, you've probably given me more work, but I appreciate you.
I see that. I'm looking at the chat. I think we do have some more work to do. Absolutely.
All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. Don't forget to vote. July 19th. Don't forget to vote if you haven't already done so and you're in Maryland. Thank you.
Thank you, our great leader. Thank you, our great leader.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Here, here. Thanks so much.
Very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.